Avijit Roy was a blogger, a humanist and an atheist. A Bangladeshi American, he set up a forum on the internet to discuss secular ideas, inspiring many young activists, but enraging those who felt that their faith was under attack. He received a lot of hate mail, and in February, while at a book fair in the Bangladeshi capital Dhaka, he was hacked to death by Islamic fundamentalists. His wife, the writer Bonya Ahmed, was seriously injured. She's still recovering from her wounds. She spoke to Asad Ahmed about why she still champions free speech despite the personal risks to her. First, though, she spoke of her memories of the attack.
I don't remember anything 5 minutes prior until I was in a vehicle. Someone was taking us to the hospital. I felt something heavy on my lap. I was completely soaked. Later I saw pictures that I was soaked in blood, and it was actually Avijit's head on me. And I was telling someone that, "Are you gonna kill us? Where are you taking me?" That's my first memory.
Do you have an urge inside you to find out what is happening as far as the investigation is concerned, getting the perpetrators, bringing them to justice?
Depends on what you call justice. If you ask me very personally, catching those killers, like the killers who actually killed him, maybe they are just hired killers, you know, the kids or people who have been brainwashed. I think this is deep-rooted. This is an ideology. I think this is connected to a lot of like political and economic phenomena of the world. It's globally connected. So this is a much bigger discussion if you talk about justice.
So if these people who targeted your husband and yourself, it's an ideology, why would they target you and your husband?
I think there are two aspects to it. One is the political games, and number two is how the religious fundamentalist thing. They demanded a law for blasphemy. The government said, "We do not need a law. We already have a law." You know, this is the secular government. This is the first time in Bangladesh's history that people were arrested for writing online. So that's the political aspect of it, right? And then on the other hand, of course, you know, this is an easy prey, I think, because religious fundamentalists don't believe in, you know, freedom of speech. They don't think everything can be criticized. This was Avijit's, you know, one of the favorite lines, that everything in this world can be criticized except for religion. Why?
Do you agree with your husband when he said that religion should be open to criticism as much as everything else? That's something you wholeheartedly supported him on.
Yeah. We actually that's how we met. I have been an atheist since I was 13. It's a long time.
What were you before that? Was it a Muslim household you grew up in and then decided to become an atheist?
At the age of 13.
That's a very young age. What made you decide?
Yeah, I was delirious. Yes.
What made you decide to shift like that? Because not many people do.
I went to my dad and I said, you know, all these religions, I've been thinking about this, they all claim that they're right. So if I were born, I think that right now I have to think that Muslim religion is right and I'm going to go to heaven. So if I were born in a Hindu family, I would have thought the Hindu religion is right and I should go to their heaven. So do you see the problem here in this logic? So my dad laughs at it. He goes, "Why don't you go read the scriptures?" I'm like, "All of them?" He goes, "Yeah, I read this 4. I'm like, "Okay, I'll get the translations." So I actually went to the library, read almost, I think, for a year, and then came back to him. My mom still blames him for making me an atheist. So I came back to him and said, "These are all fairy tales. How do you believe in them?" And he goes, "Okay, if you want to believe in that, okay."
Do you think that one of the things that perhaps provokes this religious extremism to react the way it does with some atheists is the fact that they may feel that they're being mocked because they feel insulted, that they react so harshly?
Yes.
And if so, is that right? Is it right to insult?
They feel that they're getting insulted, right? But I don't understand why they're so insecure. You criticize me all the time. You're telling me that I will go to hell. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Why can't I show the irrationality in any religion? It's not about just Islam or Christianity or like any religion. If you want to believe in something, go ahead, believe it. I'm not coming with a machete to attack you. You are free to take your decision. You want to be a Muslim, be a Muslim. You want to be a Christian, be a Christian, right? But if you want to know more and you want to, think differently, you should have the right to think differently, and the resources should be there. I don't think we're asking for too much.
Are you hopeful about the future with this position of religious extremism, where they're going, or does your heart sink?
I think we should not talk about religious extremism in vacuum. What Islamic fundamentalists are doing today, I think it has been repeated in history. We are not here overnight. There are a lot of decisions that we have made, though we don't like to accept that today, which has actually propagated us here. So if we do understand how we got here, right, that will help us maybe to decide how we can get out of here.
Hearing you speak, it sounds like your resolve has been strengthened as a result of everything that happened. Certainly doesn't sound weak to me. I'm sure it doesn't sound weak to anyone. Is that the case?
I'm pretty sad. I'm still mourning. I literally hear the silence and I feel it. So I'm still there. No, I guess I'm just being me. And that's one thing Abhijit actually liked all the time. He dedicated his last book to me. He said, when I am going through these dark nights, sailing along, lonely in the dark sea, I look up, I see you, the strong person looking at me and pulling me up from this. So I guess this is me. I'm not doing anything extraordinary.
Bonya Ahmed. Joining us now is Andrew Copson, the Chief Executive of the British Humanist Association, who brought Bonya over to do a lecture, the 2015 Voltaire lecture. So our question is, do religions diminish free speech? And Bonya said there, Andrew, everything can be criticised except religion. Why do you think that is?
Well, in the case of Bangladesh and in the case of many countries, it's because one particular religion, Islam in that case, has huge institutional and political power. I think that when religions do gain institutional and political power, especially religions like Christianity or Islam, which are proselytizing religions that claim a single truth, they do have a tendency to try and shut down opposition because it's threatening to the position of power that they have achieved. And in countries like Bangladesh, where that position has been taken, that creates a culture of impunity amongst people, like the Islamists who killed Abhijit Roy. So I think and attacked Bonya. So I think that the reason why religions in those circumstances often seem immune from criticism is because of the power of the state. But even in countries where religion is not given state power, there is still a sort of mystique and a taboo around criticising religions, which helps to insulate it from sort of fair comment that would.
And Charlie, it's not just Islam, as you were saying. It's Christianity in many places as well. In fact, there are 10,000 religions around the world, and they all claim to have their one truth. If so, there's bound to be insult, isn't there?
Well, it's I have a belief that people should believe whatever. We all have agency. We all have the right to believe whatever we want. And again, we were talking Bangladesh. I don't think you're going to get murdered for your religion here in the United Kingdom. And actually, in many ways, I see the opposite. I see it's people who are Christian or Jews that are getting denigrated for their beliefs. It's like, oh, well, it's out of that silly fictional book, the Bible, so therefore it can't be true. I mean, even if you're talking a concept like the Ten Commandments, wherever you think it came from, I think there's nothing wrong with the concepts of thou shalt not steal and not commit adultery, etc.
But Bonya's point, if you're insulted, it suggests an insecurity. You can show rational thought. You've taken a decision to support a particular religion. I mean, if you're secure enough in that decision, it shouldn't matter what people say about it.
And to me, I'm secure in my religion. So I'll say one thing that I don't like necessarily when it comes to humanists. I mean, with all due respect, when, say, a Christmas holiday comes around, you're never actually selling some positive message. It's always, don't say you, but, you know, you always see these sort of denigrating, provocative ads. It's sort of like negative campaigning.
I've got lots of positive messages for you if you want them.
But it's always stuff like taking down Ten Commandments or...
There's a big gulf, though, isn't there, between feeling insulted or feeling your religion is insulted and being hacked to death on the street.
Of course.
And I think that's what...
yeah,
I think
of course
that's the important point. But you mustn't go so quickly, I think, from being sort of, you know, talking about life and death across the world that people are facing in Saudi Arabia, in Mauritania, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Bangladesh, and go straight to them being insulted because people don't like Christmas.
Absolutely, absolutely. But there are many people who are frightened of violence. There are also people who are frightened of accusations of racism. They're frightened about breaking the consensus. You know, there's a whole spectrum.
There's a lot of ways in which speech
upset
is silenced.
that you can. And again, what I'm saying is, you know, you have free speech, and maybe that's the problem, because when you use your free speech, it gives me the right to use my free speech. So if you put across a message that's putting me down or saying, you know, people with a faith are idiots and not as smart as the rest of us, I'm going to criticize.
But then, Paula, the question is, when does offence constitute hatred? Should we be allowed? I mean, the Pope in January says you cannot provoke, you cannot insult the faith of others, you cannot make fun of the faith of others. Is that, if you did make fun of the faith of others, is that actually hate speech, or is it just offensive and provocative?
It can be hate speech, it can be offensive, and thankfully in this country that can be against the law, and quite rightly so. When you do an act that is such, that causes such insult or harm to the others, and the fact that, as I say, thankfully in this country it's recognised as a criminal act and can be prosecuted, then absolutely.
Incitement to religious hatred, which effectively replaced the blasphemy laws, which went in 2008.
Absolutely.
Yeah, David, have we got to be able to critique religion without fear from any quarter? Or should there be some religions which are more privileged than others?
Well, remember, we have an established church in this country. It doesn't seem to have helped criticism of the Church of England. It seems to be the #1 target for criticism. I think there needs to be a criticism of religion. I think what's happened recently is that, and I think this is part of what many religious people have been upset about, is there has been a criticism based on the doctrines of the faith, and trying to find a line between being critical of the beliefs of a religion without attacking the people. Now, there are things in many religious texts that I find uncomfortable, and I would like to feel that I'm free to criticize religions that sanction slavery, for example. But trying to find a way to do that where I'm not attacking the adherents of those faiths or being seen perhaps to be racist towards the adherents of that faith is, I think, a battle, a struggle we're all trying to find our way through in this society. Can you be critical of Islam without being critical of Muslims? I don't think we have an answer yet.
Can I ask the gentleman opposite even, how do you distinguish between valid criticism and something like Mapplethorpe's Piss Christ, where you had a cross sitting, was it upside down in a bottle of urine? I mean, that's obviously just provocative and offensive.
I mean, it is, and actually, perhaps that word shouldn't have been used at this time.
Forgive me, that's the name of the piece.
Of course, yes. A good question, though. I want to bring in some comments from Tommy, if I could. Tommy?
Yes, Sean, there's been a lot of praise coming in for Bonya's story as well. A lot of people admiring her. Jed, just one of those people on email saying, I'm full of admiration for Bonya Ahmed. Freedom to live a secular life without persecution is sacrosanct, in my view. On Facebook, Tom says, anyone who knows anything about religion knows that it depends on free speech. I think a point that Charlie was making earlier on as well, and asking questions. The Bible is full of people asking Jesus things, and Jesus himself utilising free speech as well. Debs on Facebook says, the belief that you are right and anyone who disagrees with you is wrong stifles free speech. Some religious people do this, and so do some atheists. And can I just quickly go back to the benefits conversation that we were having earlier on? We've got some more tweets in about benefits on Twitter. Martin saying, both myself and my wife work full-time. We have one child and we claim no benefits, yet we'll be £860 worse off under the new budget proposals. Punish the scroungers, not the workers. And finally, Mardian's Angel on Twitter says, getting off welfare is one thing. Getting an employer to pay a proper wage and give a proper contract is something else completely. Sean.
Tommy, thank you for all those. I want to come back to you because I hope you don't feel I offended you by criticising you about that little swear word that snuck in.
My apologies.
No, of course. But there are, in this country, you have no restrictions on free speech. And that has to be a positive thing, doesn't it? So, yes, if people say something and it offends you, then you can say something back that offends them.
Exactly. And again, I hope not to have to offend. I don't like to offend people. I have valid criticisms, and I don't feel that people should be held above or immune from criticisms, whether it's even drawing pictures of Muhammad, which I know offends Muslims, but again, there are people that aren't having covenanted with Muhammad, if I can put it in a religious term. You know, Andrew and I, we both have faith, a form of belief, I should say, and our beliefs should be protected, and we should be allowed to have our beliefs, and you know, criticized, yes, but they're still our beliefs, and we're entitled to them.
But actually, you raised something with the Danish cartoons, perhaps, and the depictions of the Prophet, which, you know, again, just exacerbated and inflamed racial tension and could be seen as you're frowning there.
Well, I think that we're focusing too much on offence and the negative side of free speech. I think we need to remember what the positive side of free speech is, of which these are unfortunate, perhaps, side consequences. I mean, the positive thing about living in a free society is that your ideas can be challenged, you can feel offended, you can be mocked, you can change your ideas as a result. And the clash of opinions in an open society is how human progress is achieved, right? So anything that limits and stifles that, even if it makes us feel personally uncomfortable, I think has to be accepted as the cost of freedom. And I think that's often what we should focus on, and we don't.
I totally agree.
Thank you.